Welcome back, guys. So, kind of a unique topic to talk about today, but it could in some way be connected to mental health. And I think in the future, you'll see like psychologists and um, other other people in general do a bit of research on this topic because the term itself is somewhat relatively new. It originally came from social media slang, but it can be applied to many different situations. So let's talk about FOMO. First of all, what does it stand for? So this acronym stands for or represents fear of missing out, right? FOMO. So it's the feeling that other uh, people who are not you, are having rewarding experiences, opportunities of some sorts, or just having fun in general without you, right? And well, obviously, if you feel that way, you kind of notice, or maybe you think or you realize that you're falling behind or missing out on something important, right? So you're missing on that value, that perceived value. And it's commonly connected or related to social media, events in general, investing, and I have a good example of that coming soon, careers, or even relationships. So let's talk about them. Some everyday instances or examples of FOMO, right? So maybe seeing your friends post some party photos online, like on Facebook or Instagram or something, and you're feeling really upset because you couldn't participate, you weren't there. Or maybe from a financial perspective, buying a stock or a cryptocurrency because everyone else is getting rich from it or off it. And a good example of this, to be honest, is a meme coin called Troll. And I noticed that a lot of people are experiencing FOMO right now when it comes to this particular meme. Because there are rumors that this thing is gonna blow up big, like Doge, Pepe, some other kind of successful meme coins. If you're familiar with cryptocurrency, if not, it's not a big deal, and not financial advice. So another everyday or daily example of FOMO could be just saying yes to too many plans because you're worried maybe a better experience might happen elsewhere. Maybe you're just constantly checking notifications on your phone so you don't miss any important messages or updates. You think like maybe something nice could happen. I gotta always like just be on top of this. You never know. There could be an opportunity right now, tomorrow, or something. Let me check. Let me check. Or maybe feeling anxious, right? When your coworkers talk about networking events that you skipped. You see, suddenly they've been talking about these events for a couple of hours now. What's going on? What do they know that I don't, right? Maybe it's something really nice. Or even impulse buying, like limited edition products because they might sell out, right? So think about like video game consoles or Pokemon. We've kind of seen some really bizarre examples of this already in recent times. Now, let's talk about just the specific types of FOMO so you'll be more familiar with this situation, this topic. Social media FOMO. Let's start with that because the term originally came from there, allegedly. So, some apps like Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat, they really do a good job of this. So, they can intensify FOMO. Why? Because people mostly share the highlights of their lives. Maybe you've heard of that expression before, rather than those ordinary, dull moments. So you see, like, your sister-in-law, she took a bunch of photos of the time she went to Oahu in Hawaii. And these photos, these moments, these memories are really beautiful. The environment she was in is fantastic because it's a famous island. Not everybody can afford to go there, and you've never uh, been to a resort before, you've never at least had that kind of travel experience before, let's say. So you tell yourself, you have this kind of thought in your head, oh, everyone seems happier, more successful, or more social than me. In that exact tone, right? Sounding a little bit depressed or kind of down because you just feel empty, like you didn't experience what they experienced in your mind. Or we also have like financial FOMO. This one's pretty common nowadays. So, and some common examples of this is during market hype. So think about things that are happening in the economy, right? Maybe really famous example, people rush into Bitcoin or trending stocks like Intel, Samsung lately, and AMD, Nvidia, right? These tech stocks, because they have this inherent fear of missing out on the profits, on making money, right? So, and we've seen this like every year or every few years. It's really common. It's super common. Another example of financial FOMO can like involve, say, investors that buy after prices have already surged. So the prices are kind of overbought, they're at the top, and suddenly you have this wave of new investors that are just driven to buy too because of emotions, right? They see everything is up by 500%, 1,000%, right? Gold is up, Bitcoin is up, whatever. Real estate is up. It could be anything that just has to do with investing your money, rather than like applying some critical thinking here as well as common sense. Because if you know anything about you know basic economics, right? There's always going to be these kind of peaks and lows, right? So you have to know to uh, basically be aware of the cycles and things of that nature, right? Are we in the bull market? Are we in the bear market? You got to do your financial research here, your financial homework. Otherwise, if you're just driven by emotion, you don't know how things of this nature work. You're just gonna go all in and then maybe leave empty-handed, and you just gambled away your entire life savings, let's say, or whatever. Another kind of FOMO could be related to relationship. So relationship FOMO, right? And what the heck does this mean? So this could be like you're staying on dating apps because you worry someone better might appear and you might miss out on that opportunity, right? So I haven't like really ran into this kind of situation myself, or I've never thought about it this way, but I've heard from articles and blogs and online forums, even Reddit, that there are people who do have this kind of mentality. I don't know if I don't know whether it's more prevalent among men or women, or whether it affects them equally. But it's kind of interesting. Like, yeah, I'm gonna, you know, hold on to that monthly subscription of Tinder, or what else is there? There's some other apps. I haven't used them in many years, so I don't remember. But I'm just throwing out like Tinder as an example, or Bumble, or something else. In my time, it used to be Plenty of Fish and some really weird dating apps. All right, but yeah, some people experience relationship FOMO that way. Another way they can experience this is if they feel like pressure or stress to attend like every major social event in their lives, and they do this to maintain their friendships. So I'll give you a clear cut example. Now, this one doesn't have to do with like relationships, sex, or anything like that. I mean, like just general friendships and contacts for the most part. So, if your best friend invites you to a wedding, his wedding or her wedding, and you choose not to go, they may stop being friends with you. So they may end all contact with you because you offended them. I'm not saying everyone's like that, but it could happen, right? People are different. or maybe somebody invited you to a Christmas party, or to travel with them to Vegas or to France or something, or some other kind of event. Hey, let's hit the beach this weekend. Are you available? I'm gonna be in town. So, or let's, go shoot some hoops. Let's play a game of basketball. It's been a while. And maybe this is a friend from high school or something. So, anytime it comes to these kind of social events, social gatherings, big ones, small ones, those in between, uh, some people have experienced this pressure where they gotta show up like 80% of the time or something, just most of the time in general. Otherwise, they think that things will drift apart and their friends are gonna stop caring about them, and they might even block them or not want to have anything to do with them anymore. So that's a kind of really unique kind of FOMO. It's kind of interesting. But there's also career related FOMO. So, like career FOMO is like basically maybe you're taking on too many projects or big assignments or job opportunities because others in life, others around you, they seem to be advancing really fast, and you want to keep up with them. You want to keep pace. Sorry, not face. But you could keep pace that way too, kind of artificial and silly. But like you see, for example, let's say you have a friend, he cleared $500,000 this year, half a million, and you make approximately at this point in time like 250K or something or 300, right? And you kind of feel jealous or envious, I should say, and you want to kind of be in the same pedigree as he or she. So now you decide to figure out a way to get promoted at your work, or maybe boost your investings, do something just to match his or her net worth. And that's just career FOMO. You want to be as financially successful as they are, or maybe it's just related to something like job title or something, right? That can be a good example as well. And another example of career FOMO is just constantly comparing your career progress to just random people on LinkedIn, or they could even be people you know. Who knows? So you see someone on LinkedIn, they look pretty successful for the most part in their field, in their area, and maybe you're kind of in the same field or same career path, but you're not quite in the same level, or maybe you don't have the same title or status as they do, right? And everything's kind of clear cut at that point, and you do feel envious and butthurt. So you too try to kind of like compete with them, right? And this could be something that's subconscious, or this could be something that's more conscious. You're willing to do so because it's something that's a big deal for you, and you don't want to be seen as inferior to them in your mind. People think like this sometimes. Now, something that's kind of interesting, and I was actually unaware of this last point here, is that now there's this kind of movement in response to FOMO. So some people don't like FOMO at all. They see it as something negative, something that could be harmful for your mental health, even, and something that's dangerous toward your wealth, your health, and it's not a good thing in their view for the most part. So they sometimes joke about a concept called JOMO, right? So just replace that F with a J. Joy, happiness, right? Basically, the pleasure of missing out. So joy of missing out. So what does this mean? This just basically means that you're comfortable, you're content, you're okay with skipping things in life, skipping opportunities even, right? Even if you know there's a high likelihood of them happening. And that's because you just want to enjoy your own time instead. You don't like to be pressed by others or social conformity related events. You only care about what's important to you. You work at your own pace. You don't care what's going on with everyone else. And that's good. It shows you have, like, to some extent, self esteem, self confidence, self control, right? Even. And an important life lesson here I want to finish off this topic with is While FOMO itself, right? Not JOMO. We're back to talking about FOMO. We're just wrapping it up here. While FOMO itself isn't a mental illness or even a sign of mental illness, right? Excessive feelings or participation of FOMO can actually contribute to stress, anxiety, poor decision making, gambling, and even burnout, right? So when you think of it from this dimension, from this angle, well, all those things I just mentioned are signs and symptoms that are connected to mental illness. So just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. So while FOMO itself isn't a symptom of mental illness, it could still lead to those symptoms of mental illness. So it is something that can be detrimental if you're not careful. So that's just the takeaway point, the lesson of today's video. So just be aware of that. And this is going to be something, an issue you're going to kind of hear about probably every year in one way or another. It's just another, kind of thing that's ingrained in our human psyche, right? It could again be related to greed, jealousy, envy, a bunch of other factors here. But just be careful. Have a good one, like, share, and subscribe.